Hey everyone, Jim Peterson again. Welcome to sample 2 of the topics in the Groove Concepts series. So we're going to talk about our second groove concept, and that is alternative approaches to chords and harmony. One of the challenges that we face as guitar players is learning things by shapes and patterns. For example, if you open up most guitar books and look at a typical bar chord or seventh chord, you might see something like this. We all know that that's a C major 7 chord. Then you have another one that might look like that. You may even see a few inversions, something that looks like this, or maybe even if it's a more advanced book, some other kinds of voicings. Okay? The issue here as it relates to funk guitar, specifically as it relates to groove concepts, is that when you play inversions such as these, you're playing the same 4 notes, only at different parts of the neck. What I've observed, this definitely happened in my own playing, and as I speak to a lot of students, there's a lot of frustrations about getting locked up at one spot on the neck. You want to do more to embellish the harmony, you want to do more to embellish the melody, and create some interesting ideas, but because you're staying in one spot, you really don't have that option. So let's suppose I'm playing a groove in A, a very friendly guitar key. So my choices are, if I base things on shape, I can base things on this shape, and there's a few more. Okay, this one up here. Okay, these are typical shapes, but they don't always give you the freedom that you need to go up and down the neck and navigate embellishing the harmony, embellishing the melody, thus funkifying your part to a higher level. So let's talk about how to do that. The way that we do this is that we borrow notes out of what's known as the chord scale. Another name for chord scale is mode. Okay, you've probably heard that term before. We'll talk more about the specific modes and the order that they show up in a little bit later on in this series. But for today, we're going to talk about example 1 as it relates to the chord that's we're focusing on, and that is A dominant 7th. Okay? So A dominant 7th is made up of 4 notes. The root, which is A, the 3rd, which is C sharp, the 5th, which is E, and the 7th, of course, which is G. Now there is a chord scale that gives birth to dominant 7th. In this case, the name of that chord scale would be A mixolydian. The A mixolydian scale has a few notes in it that the basic 7th chord does not have. And those extra notes can really make a difference, as we're going to see. So an A mixolydian scale would be A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, A. So you can see that there's a few notes here that the chord doesn't have. So, for example, the mixolydian scale has a B natural in it. It's also got a D natural in it. So there's 2 notes right there. It's also got an F sharp in it. So it's got these notes. Okay, that can make a huge difference. So we're going to start by shrinking everything down into 3-note groupings. We're going to play that same chord scale. We're going to put the root of the scale on the top. This is A natural at the 2nd fret, E natural right underneath it, also at the 2nd fret, 4th string, and the 3rd, C sharp, on the 4th fret of the 5th string of the guitar. Okay, we're just going to choose those 3 notes for now. The 3 notes that I use, I'm going to move up the chord scale. With each note that I play, the scale tone that follows whatever note that I'm going to play is going to give me my new triad voicing. that means that the third, C sharp, is going to move from C sharp to D. The note that's in the middle, the fifth, which is E, is going to move to the next scale tone, which is F sharp. The note that's on the top, which is the root, is going to move to the second scale tone, which is B, and then that's going to create my next voicing. Okay, so there's already an option that I have to use to embellish things. Then the second scale tone, B, is going to move to the third. The F sharp, which is scale tone 6, is going to move to 7, flat 7 that is. And then the 4 on the bottom is going to move to the 5th. So now I have 3 triads I can play. Okay, starting to sound more like music. And that's the true process. As I go up, you're going to hear, okay, so the note on the top is going, the note in the middle is going, and the note on the bottom is going. Okay, and I can take that a little bit farther. I can take it as far as I want, actually. Okay, so now, instead of having this, I have this. Okay, so there's a lot more that I can do to embellish. Okay, I can make different phrases. I can play different improvised ideas. Okay, so that's example number 1. Examples 2 and 3 follow the same suit. Example 2 is dealing with A minor 7. Well, the chord scale that we would use for A minor 7 is A Dorian. And just like A Mixolydian, the Dorian scale has a few notes in it that the minor 7th chord does not have. A Dorian has a B in it, it has a D natural in it, okay, it has an F sharp in it. Okay, so those notes can make a difference. This is what example 2 sounds like over A minor 7. Okay, so if I'm playing a okay, a lot more interesting than just playing, you know, you have the box around there. So that's example 2. Let's talk about example 3. Example 3, same thing. Only example 3 is dealing with a major 7 chord. And the chord scale that we would associate with major 7 is called Ionian. Okay? So if I play an A Ionian scale, that's basically an A major scale. Okay? There's a few notes in there as well that are not in the chord, and those notes make a difference. Here's example 3. Okay? This kind kind of reminds me very much of Motown. So if I'm playing a... All right. Now the cool thing here is that once you have this sound and these shapes memorized, you can experiment. You can start maybe perhaps moving some notes around. Let's go back to A minor 7. Okay, I can play, or if I want more of a pop sound, okay, I can do all kinds of... All right, so I'm just taking different notes out of that Mixolydian scale, out of the Dorian scale, and instead of thinking 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7, I'm just thinking of all of the notes in the scale at the same time and putting them in a grouping of 3 that suits whatever sound that I want to get. If you want a jazz sound, maybe you want to use perfect 4s. If you want more of a pop sound, maybe you want to spread them out. Okay, more of a progressive sound. You can cascade notes. Okay, so there's a lot of freedom that comes when you free yourself up from thinking shapes. It really does grow your chord and harmonic vocabulary quickly, which is the whole purpose of this section. Okay? Thanks a lot. And we're moving on to our third section.